the Cosmic Confluence podcast. This is your host, Sana, and let me ask you this. What if intuition isn't just a whisper, but the original language of the soul? This is Cosmic Confluence, where spirit meets science and where the inner cosmos is just as vast as the one above us. So, we are stepping into the realm of intuitive wisdom today in this episode, not as a mystical escape, but as a necessary compass for navigating the complexity of this human journey. And listeners, our guest is Elizabeth Makepeace. She's a healer, energy guide, and the creator of the Ascendance Code. Her life is marked by miracles, but also by deep integration from near magical synchronicities to surviving a brain tumor with grace and abundance flowing even as she lay in recovery. So let's get to this inspiring and enlightening conversation. So Elizabeth, welcome to the show, and I'm really honored to have you here with us.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Sanya, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so Elizabeth, we often hear, trust your gut, trust your intuition. But what does that truly mean when you have lived, beyond the matrix? I mean, how do you define intuitive wisdom, especially in contrast to the emotions or the instincts or even our logic?
One of the things about intuition is it's truly what we're here to listen to. It's
Mm.
our soul's whisper to find our divine path and to walk that hero's journey or the heroine's journey. I have had everything from three shooting stars when I was asking if I was on the right path. I was freaking out that I was doing the wrong thing way back. I've been a healer for 27 years.
Mhm.
And that was one of the first big miracles that happened for me was, asking the universe for a bit, a sign to know that I was on the right path. And in that exact moment, getting three shooting stars. I've had, so many so-called, coincidences that, synchronicities from, as you said, the 4.5 centimeter brain tumor. The same with, I had a 15 centimeter fibroid that, could have cost my life as well. I've had so many different mini little micro moments, moving from Oleander Street to Oleander Drive. And then, of course, meeting the love of my life on the beach. And, in this beautiful synchronistic experience, my maiden name was Payne, Payne, and his last name is Makepeace, right? So when you're outside of the matrix, when you're living in that outside of the illusion of what our mind considers is real, because our mind starts making up um, definitions and rationalizing our, normal everyday life and, really tuning into this part where we're in this 3D reality.
Mhm.
When you can step out of that and listen to the soul instead, uh, and recognize that we're here just for a blink of an eye, and there's more to our soul. Our soul is just having one experience, which is this life that we're remembering, but it's had many. And so our soul's journey is that next level of comprehension where the soul is choosing to experience more light, wanting to recognize itself as all that is, it wants to experience itself as the highest potential, the most, that allow the vessel to have as much light as possible.
Yeah.
And so when you can recognize that, and step into that, that's when the magic happens. That's when, you're really in flow and so many it's such a joyful place to be in, you know, um,
Yeah.
outside of all of the things that everyone is so weighted down with. To really choose to live the soul's path is a whole different ball game altogether.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It is beautiful because that's what I get to realize from so many conversations. And Elizabeth, I want to kind of deep dive into this. So, did you believe in intuition or miracles in your childhood or maybe teenage, or this is something that you got to understand or probably believe after you had your how you survived brain tumor?
Yeah, definitely didn't believe in it when I was little, just like everyone else. Our soul comes down into a condition to wake us up, which isn't always conducive to, rainbows and unicorns. So, I, like a lot of people, was raised in a family where there was a lot of, emotional, discord.
Mhm.
My parents weren't really, consciously aware of what they were doing. I'm the youngest child, and so my mum had, my mum and dad had 2 boys before me.
Mhm.
One of them, back then they called it hyperactivity. These days it would be called ADHD.
Mhm.
Um, but, she didn't know what she was doing. Excuse me. She didn't know what she was doing. He had eczema, from head to foot, and was, trying to get by. And then they had a stillborn before me, and she found that extremely hard, was grieving, and had me as the way of healing. Back then, there was no healing. It was, go and have another baby. So I'm here because my brother Bradley died. And so you can imagine,
Yeah.
you know, waking up in a body, in a family like that. And around about 3 years old, my dad when I was 3 years old, my dad, found out he was sick, and so I grew up in a family with my dad sick on a kidney machine all my life, um, and the things that, you sort of have little moments. I remember the very first memory of any sort of recognition of what my life was going to be like
Mhm.
was walking past a TV once. I was born in '71, and, I walked past this, TV, and the news was sort of giving an anniversary of Woodstock, and yeah, it was a black and white TV, and I remember seeing these people, like these hippies in this concert, and having this moment like, "Oh my gosh, I've come down too late."
Mm.
And as soon as I heard myself say that, I was like, "Come down from where and too late for what? Like, what are you talking about, Elizabeth?" I had no idea what I was talking about. I also had these moments where my dad would be on the kidney machine and I would sit with him, and cry, "I don't want you to die." And he'd like, "I'm not gonna die, don't be silly." And he died when I was 15. So I've
Mm.
had these moments where I was in tune, but I didn't know what that meant. I was not encouraged to believe in myself or to, listen to the internal wisdom. Like most people, I was influenced by my outside world and very confused as to why it wasn't the same as what I was feeling. Um, so I shut it down. I shut down the messages, I shut down the feelings, and I listened and was influenced by my external world because, from 0 to 3, and especially up to at least 12, we have no filter. So whatever, our environment is, whatever our outside world is all about, we just allow that and we think it's truth. And that now becomes our reality.
Yeah.
That then becomes everything that we think um, is true. And it takes a little while for the um, intuition or the wisdom to kick back in and infiltrate that message that we were shared by with our parents, like, or our environment, our culture, society, all of those things.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you, Elizabeth, and that's quite a journey. I mean, it definitely takes a lot of courage and vulnerability to share that. But I must say that you have lived an extraordinary life. I mean, you told us about the shooting stars, about the soul aligned love. So, for someone who is feeling like spiritually numb or maybe disconnected, or they wouldn't even believe in this concept of soul being an energy traveling across timelines and boundaries, how do they even begin to trust their inner guidance again?
Your your inner guidance is continuously there. The soul uh, will always extremely patiently be in the background whispering. And so, how you hear that whisper is different for everyone. Some people have a knowing, some people physically hear something, some people see things. It's it's different for each person. And so the very first part of that would be just your intention. As soon as you set the intention to let go and surrender to whatever your calling is, whatever your um, inner terrain is trying to share with you, that letting go and surrendering allows that information to come in a little bit deeper. And so when we are just in that place of I'm choosing to listen to my soul, you then just keep your ears, eyes, heart open and allow that information to come through. The challenge is that it often comes through uh, in a way that we negate it. We second guess it because the unconscious, that part of us that's running the show, 90% of the time,
Mhm.
uh, is fearful of anything that's unknown. So the second guessing comes in because that part of us will do everything in its power to stay in control. And so when it doesn't know, you know, this new concept or this, the void of where the soul is whispering, it will do everything to, uh, what would I say, misdirect you or, to pull you back into the old patterns of behavior, the old habits, old memories, everything to do with the past.
Mhm.
It will do to keep you what it thinks it's doing is keeping you safe because, when you were behaving a certain way and responding a certain way or reacting to a certain trigger or event, you ended up surviving because you're still here. And
Yeah.
so, the unconscious thinks that that's its job, and it is. It's here to keep you alive and to keep you safe. And so, it's doing its job, so we don't wanna, have a go at it and think that it's doing anything wrong, but it's giving it that space to say, "It's now okay to let go, and it's time, to, find this new stuff." And so, thank you for looking after me, but let's update the system, right? Let's update to the next level.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But Elizabeth, you mentioned that most of our experiences in our childhood, especially till 12, in that age, all those experiences, kind of subconsciously ingrained. They remain with us, and
Mm.
especially if those are traumatic, they can really cloud in any form, when we grow up, like in reacting to events or in our actions, whether it's in professional or personal circumstances. And what I understand is to trust our inner guidance, we definitely need some kind of clarity and openness. So how do we get that from point A to point B?
It's remembering our innocence, right?
Yeah.
Um, and just innocence is a word that has been given a bad rap because, as society in general has navigated growth, our own, um, you know, we've got our own personal growth and experience of development as a soul, but we are also in this collective that's growing as a community and a society and a culture and all of those things as human beings. And somewhere along the lines, innocence was given the rap of being weak. And it's not, and it's not at all, because when you can be innocent, then that's how you can tap into your genius, which is that intuitive wisdom. That's how you can activate uh, that information that is actually way more powerful than the intuition. Sorry, is way more powerful than the unconscious. And it's just that it's a lot quieter. So really, if you're looking at someone who, if someone in the audience has been having emotional trauma, has done all their life, the very fact that you're listening to this means that your soul is talking to you. It's, hearing this information is part of the journey. And these are those little tiny moments that the soul doesn't talk the same way as the unconscious, the rational mind. The rational mind has only got a limited set of information, and that's going to drag you back into the past. And as it does that, one of the things that it does as part of the mechanism is it takes in a memory of the past that might be just a flash or a feeling, sorry, a moment that's so quick you don't even recognize it, and it matches it, and it incorporates our nervous system response. So now our nervous system and neural pathways are wiring together to create chemicals in the body to create an emotion. So you might be listening to this and your soul is going, listen, keep your ears open, hear what I'm trying to help you hear, right? And what's happening is memories of the past will be flashing in that you might not even catch as a visual. It's just that it's like this processing like a computer. And as it does that, these neural processes, neurotransmitters in the mind wire together and create an emotion. So now there's this feeling of not being good enough or not being capable because is based in that feeling from your childhood when you did something that brought that same feeling on. You know, you might have it might have been something as small as getting in trouble because you ate too much food, or you know you did the wrong thing in a classroom or whatever it might be, and you had a feeling. So now that's a trigger to feel incapable when there's something new happening. So it's being able to bridge that by, you know, first of all, in my opinion, um, you know, this is the work that I do. We have got so much weight here holding us down. It's like we're tethered to the ground with all of the past. So, past lives, you know, generational history. We've got our own conditioning from our childhood, you know, potentially multidimensional aspects of ourselves that are having the same sort of or similar experiences somewhere else, different timelines. All of that is it's like this dirt that's been or mud that's been stuck to our, you know, skin suit. And, you know, we need to clean that up so that we can see the beautiful skin underneath, you know, that the light that the soul actually is, the original blueprint. That needs yeah, that needs to be cleaned up first so that we can then recognize, to try and recognize your soul and what the soul's um, sharing or asking or pulling you closer towards when you've got all of this baggage from your past. That's when the struggle happens. That's when it feels way too hard. That's when depression happens and dis-ease, you know, like all of these things happen because there's such a struggle of the unconscious rational mind that's trying to keep hold of the reality while the soul and you know, the intuitive wisdom is there just gently nudging you. So there's this internal conflict. When you can clean that up and quieten that unconscious mind, then you've got more of a chance of being able to hear the whisper of your intuition.
That so much makes sense. Yeah, definitely I can picturize. It's kind of the um caterpillar becoming butterfly after coming out of the cocoon.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, when you think about it, they've actually got cells. I'm just trying to think what they're called. There's particular cells that are in the DNA that are not active in the caterpillar, but as soon as it gets in the cocoon, what happens is that caterpillar actually turns to mush because of these cells. And that mush activates this DNA that reminds the whole system, the whole um, energy field of the caterpillar that actually it has the ability to become the butterfly. And so in the cocoon, it becomes this liquid so that it can transform into the butterfly. So when you're in the messy middle, when you're in that space of, you know, waking up, and so many people are, to understanding that they're way more than just this physical body. Right this moment, we have so many um, people waking up because we're moving from, you know, the age of Pisces, which is all about domination and control, and we've just moved into the age of Aquarius, which is all about you know, self authority. And you know, they sung about it in the 60s, right? Age of Aquarius is love and moonbeams and all the things.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people sort of waking up and finally listening to that spirit or that, you know, that soul's calling. And so that doesn't always look clean and um, professional. It really does. To move from one pattern into another means that there's chaos in between. So if you're in the chaos at the moment, hold tight. Know that your soul has got your back, and just keep focused on what your end result is.
Hmm. Wow, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Really insightful. And um, before we wrap up, so again, our this is naturally, because we tend to be logical, or our brain always tries to be rational. So and that's how we are taught, to measure success by tangible proof, like data, results, or maybe structure. So how do we balance this intuitive knowledge, knowing, with the grounded discipline of daily life? I mean, where exactly do we create the balance, or maybe merge them?
It actually doesn't take as much time as what people think. Um, when we first wake up in the morning, or whenever you wake up, um, our unconscious kicks in before we've even started opening our eyes. We sort of we're half in, half out of consciousness, and our unconscious will start dictating how you are. So it will maybe think of, what you've got to do, or things that might have worried you that you haven't done yet, or, just thinking of the normal things that are happening in your life.
Hmm.
And so to take control, it only takes about 5 to 15 minutes in the morning to do some form of meditation where you're stilling that mind, quietening that down, spending time in your own energy. So don't go onto social media on your phones. Put any sort of gadgets on. Being in your own energy and choosing, making the choice. What is it that I'm choosing? So I do a process called choices where I am directing what my end result is. So I'm thinking about living the life I love, or, I'm writing a novel at the moment. So I might think about what it feels like to be at the end of that novel and is published. And, I have visual images of, doing a book signing or whatever it might be, because the unconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and a vision. So when you're visualizing, you are infiltrating that noise from the past and redefining it for the unconscious, so that the unconscious recognizes that whatever it is that you're thinking about is safe, is known. So you start building your future by holding on to little short sentence, for example, right? Like um, I am healthy and vital, for example. Holding on to that and feeling what that feels like to have that experience. So now you're the one that's being the predominant creator, instead of just allowing your mind to plug into the matrix and do whatever it wants to do. It goes wild if we don't take some form of control. So early in the morning, or whenever it is that you wake up, first thing you do is 10 to 15 minutes of stilling your mind and choosing how you want to create your life. And then allowing your unconscious, sorry, your soul to come in, that inner wisdom, that knowing, however it sort of pops in. It might be just an inspired thought. You might have the thought, "Oh, I'm going to do this today." And so you get this inspired um action, or information, and then you actually take action on it. Because what happens is, most people have an inspired thought and it just drifts away. They think, "Oh, that's a great idea." And before they know it, it's gone. They've forgotten about it. They haven't taken any action. And that's when the unconscious is still in control. So you've got to take action on whatever that inspired thought was, because that's the soul saying, "Come here. This is what we're doing. This is what you chose to experience down here this time. And this is how you collapse time." Because the more you listen to your soul, the more the particles within this whole cosmos, right? This whole quantum field that we're in start gathering together in the pattern to create those three stars, that, that opportunity to go down the beach. When I met Tim, um, I had been on online doing a training, and I was living by myself, and I had this moment like, "Oh, I've gotta, have dinner and just go to bed, I'm exhausted." And I just had this thought, "Maybe I'll just go down the beach because I live, near the marina.
Yeah.
I'll go down the beach, I'll just get my feet dunked into the ocean, ground a bit, and then I'll have dinner." So it was just this little thought, nothing major, but I
Mm.
listened to it. And I go down the beach. I was the only one there at the time, I thought, and this guy walks past. And so he, on his side, gets all the way to the end of the beach, and his intuition was saying, "Stop, go back and talk to that woman."
Mhm.
So he came back through and started talking, and that was, 3.5 years ago. We're just like peas in a pod. We're just so aligned, and as I said, my last name was Makepeace, sorry, Payne, Payne, and I've gone from pain to Makepeace. So, the things that happen when you listen to that inner wisdom and you take action on it
Mhm.
is extraordinary if you can just let go um, and allow that information to guide you.
That is such a beautiful, beautiful conclusion to this conversation. I guess there couldn't be a better reason to explore and trust our intuition, Elizabeth. And I feel that you should definitely name your novel or maybe your biography as, From Pain to Make Peace.
Yes, yeah.
Beautiful title.
Yeah. It would be a great title, wouldn't it?
It will be definitely. Wow. So, before we wrap up, if our listeners would like to connect with you, Elizabeth, what will be the best way?
I would say to jump onto my website. My name is Elizabeth Elenor. So my middle name, I used to go by just Elizabeth Elenor before I met Tim. Um, so Elizabeth Elenor, but Eleanor is spelled Elenor. So it's a little bit different.
Mm.
So elizabetheleanor.com. And there's actually, I'd love to gift your listeners the opportunity. There's a 15-minute quick chakra balance meditation for busy people. So you can jump on and grab that. It's a really great way to start moving into that space. If you're someone that has a little bit of trouble meditating without some sort of guidance, I get a lot of great feedback that this is a great way to clean up your energy field through working with your chakras and balancing them. So I just give that. It's on the website, and I'll send you the link so that you can put in the show notes as well.
Absolutely. We'll make sure to have all the details and links in the show notes. And wow, this was certainly a magical conversation, Elizabeth. And thank you so much to you for reminding us that we're not broken, we are just becoming. So, intuition isn't about escape, it's about energetic alignment, clarity, and the courage to live with deeper presence. So, thank you so much once again, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Sonia. It's been a great conversation. I'm really inspired by your questions and the depth of what you're saying. So I know that your listeners, obviously have got that level of comprehension as well. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And to all the listeners, thank you so much for being a part of this cosmic journey with us. And if this episode stirred something within you, pause and ask yourself, what is my inner cosmos trying to show me? Until next time, keep listening to the stars, to your soul, and to the confluence where they meet. This is your host, Sana, signing off. Thank you.